I had just moved into a quaint little cottage in the countryside, eager to escape the hustle and bustle of the city. The house was old, with creaky floorboards and drafty windows, but it had a charm that spoke to me. At first, everything seemed perfect. I spent my days exploring the nearby woods, and my evenings curled up by the fire with a good book. But as the nights grew longer and colder, I began to notice strange things happening around the house. It started with small things, objects moving on their own, strange noises in the dead of night. I brushed it off as my imagination playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then, one night, as I lay in bed, I heard it. A soft, whispering voice that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as I strained to make out the words. "Leave," it whispered, a cold chill creeping up my spine. "Leave this place before it's too late." I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, that there was a rational explanation for what I was hearing. But deep down, I knew the truth. There was something in that house with me, something dark and malevolent that wanted me gone. Terrified, I packed my bags the next morning and fled, never looking back. But even now, years later, I can't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone in that house, that whatever whispered to me in the darkness still lingers, waiting for its next victim.
Moving into a new house is supposed to be an adventure, a chance to start fresh and make new memories. But for me, it became a descent into darkness I never could have imagined. The day we first laid eyes on the house on Birchwood Lane, it felt like fate. It was a charming old Victorian with a wraparound porch and a backyard big enough for our 2 young children to play in. We fell in love with it instantly and couldn't wait to make it our own. But from the moment we moved in, I knew something was off. There was a heaviness in the air, a feeling of being watched that I couldn't shake. At night, strange noises echoed through the empty halls, and shadows seemed to dance in the corners of my vision. I tried to brush it off as my imagination running wild, but as the days passed, the disturbances grew more pronounced. Objects would go missing, only to reappear in the most unlikely of places. Doors would slam shut on their own, and cold drafts would sweep through the house, chilling me to the bone. One night, as I lay in bed listening to the whispers that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, I couldn't take it anymore. With trembling hands, I grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the darkness, determined to uncover the source of the haunting. As I crept through the house, the whispers grew louder, their words unintelligible, yet filled with a sense of menace. I followed them to the basement, where a heavy door stood at the end of a narrow hallway, beckoning me forward. With a pounding heart, I reached for the doorknob and turned it, the door groaning open to reveal a darkness so thick I could almost touch it. As I stepped inside, the whispers intensified, swirling around me like a malevolent storm. And then, in the depths of that darkness, I saw it. A figure standing in the shadows, its eyes glowing with a cold, otherworldly light. With a scream, I turned and fled, racing up the stairs and out into the night, leaving the house and its secrets behind me. But even now, as I try to move on with my life, I can't shake the feeling that the whispering house hasn't finished with me yet, that its dark presence still lingers, waiting to claim me once and for all.
The quaint countryside seemed like the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. When I stumbled upon the old farmhouse tucked away in the rolling hills, it felt like fate. The price was unbelievably low, but the charm of the place was undeniable. Little did I know, the real cost would be much higher. As I settled into my new home, the tranquility of the countryside surrounded me. But beneath the serene facade, there was an undercurrent of unease that I couldn't shake. Why had the house been sold so cheaply? It was a question that gnawed at me, even as I tried to enjoy the peace and quiet. Then, one night, as I lay in bed, listening to the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees, I heard it. The faintest whisper, like the sound of leaves brushing against each other. first, I thought it was just my imagination, a trick of the wind. But as the nights went on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they seemed to fill every corner of the house. I tried to ignore them, telling myself it was just the old house settling. But then, other strange things began to happen. Objects would go missing, only to reappear in odd places. Shadows seemed to dance in the corners of my vision, fleeting yet unmistakable. And then there were the dreams, dark, twisted visions that left me waking in a cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking in the shadows, something ancient and malevolent that had been awakened by my presence in the house.
Hi guys,
Desperate for answers, I began to research the history of the farmhouse, only to uncover a chilling truth. The previous owners had met tragic ends, their deaths shrouded in mystery. Some said the house was cursed, haunted by restless spirits seeking revenge for past wrongs. Terrified, I knew I had to leave, but the house seemed to have other plans. Doors would slam shut on their own, trapping me inside. Windows would shatter without warning, letting in the bitter cold of the night. It was as if the house itself was alive, a malevolent force hell-bent on keeping me prisoner within its walls. But I refused to be its victim. With every ounce of strength I had left, I fought back, determined to escape the clutches of the house on the hill. And though the battle was long and fraught with danger, in the end, I emerged victorious, leaving behind the whispers and shadows to fade into the darkness from whence they came. But even now, as I sit in the safety of my new home, I can't shake the feeling that the house on the hill still watches, still waits, biding its time until it can claim its next victim. And so, I offer this warning to anyone who dares to venture near. The house may seem inviting, but beware the whispers in the shadows, for they may be the last thing you ever hear.